trying to work out.
Breaking news.
He did. He indeed played e4, a6, d4, then e6, and we have d5. So a French with a6. Fun times.
Fun times. And Simon, you're the French defense expert, but a6, not the most useful move in this position.
I know that it's not the most principled, but there's some tricks here. And although I will say this, Jordan played knight c3. We're sitting here blabbering away. It's now Magnus who's on the clock until he just plays bishop b4.
Wow. We were expecting Jordan Van Foreest to make it funky in the opening, but it looks like Magnus is the one who's bringing in the funk while this one heats up. It's sure to be a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, we haven't been playing too long, but already queens are off, all the bishops are gone. It is an endgame, and White has more space. If you look at the pawns in the center of the board and on the king side, White has advanced quite far there. But due to the lack of pieces, actually White has a lot of responsibility now. White has a lot of squares to cover, and Black is rock solid. Especially with knights. Anything can happen. They're going to jump in and around. I'm seeing the Black Knight jumping into White's queenside very shortly. I think objectively it's roughly in the balance, but we all know Magnus's reputation in the endgame. Can Jordan hold his own there? That's the big question.
He says equal. Okay, I'm the better player. So an equal position gives me more chances to win.
And that is a weakness. And this is something which is very prevalent in this type of structure. But of course, it should be even at the moment, and it's easier to play with more space. And I think White should just push his kingside pawns, try to create some weakness over there, but moving the king into the middle seems very sensible as well.
And then White maybe tries to use some sort of grip pawn structure on the king side, advancing for this g5 break. The g5 break is often the most dynamic one, because if g5 occurs, Black only has bad choices. If you take it, you always give the outside passer, and if you leave it, White capturing h6 creates a weakness. So of course, there's these crazy ideas where you sacrifice everything for a queen, but that won't be the case here. So anyway, I think that while we're applauding Magnus, I don't think Jordan is in any danger in this game.
Yeah.
I, just like Danny, would choose White. I think there's less risk for White. It feels like if you just protect everything, you have a draw at hand. But yeah, if you want to play for a win, I was about to say Jordan paused at that moment. It looked a bit strange. He's changed the pawn structure. He wants to maybe break with this pawn. Now he has full defense over his center. Maybe he's just going to retreat his knight, say everything's defended, and go for glory on the king side.
White is controlling all the cards, right? You'll play g4. At some point, you will decide whether f5 or g5 is worth it. Maybe that's part of Magnus's psychological plan, is he believes in himself enough to say, come get me, big fella, and see if you give me some chances once we're both under time pressure. But, and by the way, speaking of time pressure, I think that's the one thing we haven't called out, is regardless of the X's and O's, Magnus is doubly up on the clock. And if you just take another 4 minutes away for both players and not much has changed, that'll be the thing Magnus is playing for.
And Jordan Van Foreest right now in full control. He's the one with all the pawn breaks in the position, the one with the active rook, eyeing the b-pawn weakness that Black has. Potential breaks.
Even though I expect it to be a draw, we did see this g5 structure, which is kind of White's main plan. h6 is going to fall here, even though Magnus is currently up a pawn. And if time pressure ensues, knights are some of the trickiest pieces. We got the Bullet Chess Championship coming up. This is about to be a bullet battle with a little bit of increment.
Yeah, and we all know how badly knights suffer against rook's pawns. In this case, Harry the H-pawn for Simon here could play a decisive role if Magnus isn't able to deal with that. And, okay, material balance will be restored. Who would you pick here? Evaluation bar says draw, but which side do you think is easier to play?
I mean, I'd definitely pick White here, because when you get to knight endings, the most precious passed pawn to have is the wing pawn, and you can see that Harry over there. It could be strong. Luckily, well, I don't know about luck, but Magnus has his king in front of that pawn. But the problem that you have when you're defending against a rook's pawn is that your knight can only defend it from one side. It can't jump off the board and defend it from another side. So I definitely pick White here, but unless White can get his king in, there's not much material on the board. You're playing a pretty good endgame player. I mean, he's not bad, is he? If you're playing me, you'd have some chances. You're playing Danny, even more chances. You're playing David, no chances. And yeah, I mean, sorry, we've got to get it in.
Pick on me all you want. I think we're about to see a repetition. It was glad we came here because it's the final instructor. Oh, you don't think so?
No, I think Magnus might be trying to win that Harry the H-pawn and actually maybe even push on for a couple of moves. David, are there any chances of that happening?
Certainly now. And Jordan, he shook his head.
Yeah,
he missed this move. He could have gone the other way with this king. He could have cut out this option, and I think, like you said, Danny, we would have seen a draw within moments. But suddenly, big question, does White push the pawn, allowing the black king to either step forward or to the side, and that pawn will be weak forever, picked off soon? Or do you move your knight forward where the black king again is allowed forward? Suddenly, big question to answer. And
Yeah,
only 30
I
seconds on the clock.
apologize. I was maybe just thinking about Simon picking on me, I guess. But no,
Danny,
it's obvious that the white king needed to go to F3.
Danny, you will get your revenge, I'm sure. We've got plenty of days left, my
Plenty of
friends.
days left. But no, the H pawn is going to fall. You're right, Tanya. This
And
is.
Jordan's not got plenty of time left. He's got 25 seconds on the clock. The line is on the board, David, the one that you were calling out. Now there are 2 pieces attacking the H pawn. I don't see a way for white to keep it together.
Yeah, that pawn is dropping, and wow, Jordan pushes his king to d4. What is the expected reply after knight takes pawn? Suddenly, there's a threat of knight trade. The f4 pawn as well for white is hanging.
Yeah. I think the one lucky thing Jordan has going for him is just that f7. F7 is tender the moment the black king gets too aggressive, right? You play knight g4 check, and on king g6, king e3, and you say, all right, I screwed up. Now show me, right? And will black be able to make progress without knight h6 coming in?
Asking Magnus to show how to win a pawn up, that is scary. It's really scary. I mean,
For sure.
You can ask Magnus a lot of questions, but I've seen him win so many unwinnable endings just sitting on the, sitting here. He does it so often, especially when the clock is very low. But I mean, how realistic do you think that is, David? I mean, here that Magnus can win this.
Well, that's the thing. If it was anyone else in the world, I'd say Jordan's going to draw. We also see the evaluation bar, so objectively, it should still be a draw.
Yeah.
Magnus still needs a bit of magic, but yeah, we've seen him milk these types of advantages.
I think one of the things I always ask in these positions is, if I could pass the move, would that be progress? And I think one of the problems is, even if black could pass the move, the white king will now sit on e3 and f3, and if the d4 pawn ever pushes, you'll go to e4. So I don't. And you can't exchange pawns. So I'm sort of wondering if there's any real way to trick white here. But if there is, Magnus Carlsen will find it. Full disclosure. But I still think that Jordan is going to hold a draw despite blundering to get here. I think Jordan will hold, although right as I say it, I'm now looking at the D pawn and starting to look at some real crazy lines. So, Simon.
No, Magnus will crush it.
Okay.
No doubt about it. I mean, Magnus is just going to grind it, find an opportunity. The problem is, Jordan has to play so accurately. I mean, even though, as you pointed out, Danny, it's not easy to win at all, Magnus can keep trying stuff. And as soon as I say that, they're repeating kings. But yeah, I mean, it's not easy to win. But David, what do you reckon? You've got to have the
deciding.
Yeah.
Deciding what?
I don't know, Tanya, you need to vote too, but I'll say draw because it feels like Jordan has set up really nicely with his pieces.
But he's going for the win. He refused the 3rd time repetition here, so Magnus is going to try till the end.
Yeah, Magnus, he'll play till king versus king if he needs to. We've seen that before from him. But whether he's successful to win, that's another question. It feels like Jordan's got his knight on a perfect circuit right now. White's knight is stopping the advance of black's extra pawn, the d pawn, and it can give the black king some annoying checks too. f5 is always going to be a way to try and trade pawns for white later if you can arrange it. Oof, I'm talking myself into a corner here, but I'll say draw.
The good news is we don't have a lot of other games to get to. We already had 2 quick draws between Aronian and Fedoseev and Noterbek Abdusaturov, respectively. So we've got this game and the Fabiano game. So I'm willing to just stay right here until we see Magnus show us whether he's going to find a way or not.
12 seconds for Jordan Van Foreest. He does repeat with the knight and king, and that's all that he has to do, right? Shuffle around with the knight and the king, make sure that black's king doesn't get active. But is there a potential winning plan in this position for black here?
queen the pawn.
Queen the pawn.
I think you have to be able to advance. If we want to bring up the analysis board, we might as well show how it works, right? So if black can advance the d pawn, not really because you have hopes of queening, but because you can distract the white king in the right opportunity for the black king to go to g6 and f5. The problem is you have to do it where the knight is also somehow sidelined himself, because otherwise f7's a problem, or as we see now, check, right? So the right way to do this is to advance the d pawn that first distracts the knight to b4, David, and then distracts the king. Only at that time, if the knight is sidelined on the queen side and the king has retreated, could black win? So we'll see.
Knight b3, great call there, Danny. It's on the board. He wants to get the d pawn moving.
But the thing is, you have to, okay, and now Jordan sees a chance. Actually, I think this is a great move. I think Jordan has just clinched that, because you get one more pawn off the board and suddenly you're in sack territory, right? Sack the knight for the remaining pawns and you should be able to draw.
Yeah, it's a good strategy, isn't it, David? I mean, when you're trying to draw, exchange off as many pawns as you can, because there's less to worry about, really.
Yeah, there's just one trap in the position just to show, and Jordan didn't fall for it. If you'd taken this pawn,
I love it. I love it. Eval bar heart attack. Don't make Tanya fall off the chair. There you go. If you take the pawn, bad things happen.
Yeah, if the knights disappear, black will win due to this protected pass pawn. But this didn't happen in the game, and Jordan's still holding the balance. This is the game position. He will trade off at least one set of pawns and should make a draw.
And we're getting another update that Iturrizaga, Fabiano also ended in a draw. So that's 3 draws. Will this be the 4th draw? Right now, Jordan seems to be doing everything right, but not anymore.
He blundered his knight. He walked his knight into a trap because the knight guard's B4. The knight guard's...
Do you know what? You just never bet against Magnus, guys.
If knight A6, king B7, and then... Oh, king B7. The knight's out of squares.
You probably would have just repeated, and now anyway you lose the knight, but white's coming out of after the pawns. It's not going to be enough, David.
But what is happening? Can you just take that white knight?
Yeah, you just take it, and then knight F4, king F5,
and then
D4.
just keep pushing. Oh, it's so tricky now, though. White's knight has escaped, but the pawn is rolling. Maybe Magnus has played it perfectly. Now the white king has to give way, and
oh my gosh,
the black knight's going to win.
Sing this out.
That's the line.
And this is how it's done.
Yeah, I mean,
Magnus Carlsen strikes again.
normal, normal Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah.
You know, just when it looks like it's going to be a draw, he just finds the way to put problems on his opponent.